Hey everybody, week 5 starts on February 6th, and that marks the beginning of our research unit. We've just wrapped up the 4 weeks spending time looking at rhetorical analysis, which culminated in the rhetorical analysis essay, your first long essay, and now we are transitioning to the research unit. At one time, I used to keep the research unit until the end of the semester, and I quickly realized that that was extremely stressful for students, especially if they had to juggle multiple papers for multiple classes. So I've moved the longer research unit to the middle of the semester. We'll actually be spending about 7 weeks on it. It will span across our spring break in March. It will last from February 6th through March 26th. So that said, I want to share my screen, take a look at week 5, and talk a bit more about this research argument essay assignment. Please remember that if you want to, you can revise and resubmit your rhetorical analysis essay for a higher grade if you've received 79% or below. It will take me a few days to actually look through your final revisions that were due on the 5th of February, and hopefully get some feedback to you if I didn't already give you feedback on your rough drafts. I'll only accept significant revisions to the content of the paper. So you're not going to get a higher grade if you just do a better job proofreading the essay and correcting your editing mistakes. There needs to be some significant revision. So as I said, we're starting our research unit. There will be multiple assignments attached to this unit that will be due weekly each Sunday. And those assignments are outlined in the research argument assignment. It's important that you not only read chapter section 8.1 in the book, The Writer's Loop, how to compose a research question. That's relevant for this week's assignment, but also read the handout on how to write a researched argument if you've never approached this type of argument before, as well as this research argument assignment handout. This is the PDF that I'm going to be focusing on right now because it gives you a breakdown of the unit itself. So the research argument essay or research paper will be an 8 to 10 page research argumentative essay. You will need to use 6 solid research sources, and 2 of those sources must be from academic scholarly journals. And we'll be talking more about that in the coming weeks. As I said, it's not just a research paper, so you're not just picking a topic and researching it. You are choosing a topic that you have to argue about. So this is an argumentative or persuasive paper where you're going to pick one side of an issue or the other side. So let's take a look at the major writing assignments that will be going into this. First, we are starting off this week with a paper topic. You need to come up with a paper topic right off the bat. I know that can be very difficult, but the sooner you have an idea of what you want to argue about, the easier your research process will become. So we're starting with a paper topic and 2 research questions. That will be due Sunday the 12th, which is the following Sunday. The week after that, we will be working on a source evaluation worksheet for 5 of the sources. So there we will be talking about scholarly and popular sources and what are the most appropriate choices for your research topic. The week after that, due on the 26th, will be your formal paper proposal with an annotated bibliography for 8 sources. Now, I know that you're only required to have 6 sources for the final paper. However, I want you to do an annotated bib for 8 sources because sometimes when we're researching and we're looking at our sources and we think something's going to be appropriate, we realize that as we're in the process of writing the paper, we may have to switch gears slightly and then a source is no longer useful to us. That's why I want you to have several sources that you can choose from. That way, if you need to cut one, it's not a big deal and you won't have to go and search for a new source. And of course, all of these will have their own instructional sheets as we approach the coming weeks. That one will be due the 26th. The following week, March 5th, I want you to have your introduction paragraph drafted. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want you to have some idea of where you're heading with the paper. So we'll get the introduction out of the way. You'll have some kind of a working thesis, which can, of course, be changed and revised as you go through the writing process, and have some sort of an outline or an organizing principle for the body of your essay. I want you to have a good sense of which direction you're heading with your argumentative research paper. And then for those of you who are holding just below a B, if you have under an 80%, you will be required to submit a conference draft prior to leaving for spring break. So on Sunday, the 12th of March, the conference drafts for those students who have less than an 80% in the course will need to be submitted, and I will give you significant feedback. I'll be able to, excuse me, I'll be able to get feedback to you over spring break because I'm not planning to go anywhere. And, focus on you and give you lots of tips and hints to help your research go more smoothly. Once you come back from spring break, though, those of you who have 80% or higher, that means everybody actually, will need to submit their peer review rough draft, just like you did with the rhetorical analysis essay, where I required a rough draft for peer review. We're also going to be doing that for the research paper. And excuse me, for peer review, which will be due in the middle of the week on the 22nd of March, I think that's a Wednesday, your peer reviews will be due. This peer review will be a lot different than the rhetorical analysis one. It won't be so detailed like the previous one. I'm just asking you for feedback, making sure the student is on the right track with their essay, and provide feedback that way. And then the final revision, as I said earlier, is due Sunday, March 26th. So not only will you be expected to partake in providing feedback, but also taking that feedback that you receive on all of the smaller assignments and incorporating that so that your research argument essay will be the strongest essay you can possibly write. We'll be giving you constructive feedback, not only from me, but also from your peers as you work through each of these activities leading to the final paper. Once again, 8 to 10 pages, double-spaced, all of that stuff. That does not include your works cited page. We will be talking about works cited, how to do it, what it looks like when we focus on the annotated bibliography assignment in that third week. But yes, the page count does not include your references. Unfortunately, I want 8 to 10 pages of content, not your works cited. Obviously, MLA format, you should know the drill by now. Make sure that you have a clear thesis statement that's in your introduction. If you are a more skilled writer, I am pretty lenient on where your thesis actually appears in your paper, but typically students are used to having a thesis statement that's in their introduction. Part of argumentative writing includes examining both sides of the issue. So I want you to be able to not only support your claims, but also support the opposite side with a counter argument and a rebuttal. So we'll be talking more about that in the coming weeks as well. And those things should be supported by the sources that you choose. Of course, you have to integrate quotations, paraphrases, and summaries from 6 sources, 2 of which must be scholarly or academic, and make sure that you're using the correct MLA citation format when you cite your sources. And lastly, of course, you must include a works cited page. I have, or pages, sometimes depending on the number of sources that a student ultimately uses, and if they are from scholarly journals, they tend to have really long titles, and there's lots of publication information that needs to be included that sometimes you might go over one works cited page, which is fine. As many as that are needed in order to list all of those sources properly. So that is pretty much a summary of the research argument essay and the assignments that are attached to it. So let me go back to week 5, talk a little bit about the rest of the assignments. So there is, of course, an overview video. Hopefully you have already watched that. I don't have it linked here, but I will be working on uploading it and getting it into the course. And that will be available for you to watch. It's just an introduction to research and why it's important and why we do these things at the college level. And that's about a 10-minute overview, and hopefully that will be informative for you. There's also a video on developing a research question, and it's about 3 minutes long, not very long at all, but it talks a little bit more about how to develop a research question, which is related to what you are reading in the writer's loop. And then for the assignments that you actually have due, we have a couple of assignments due not only on the 12th, but there's also one that is due on the 8th, and that's Wednesday. So we have a journal assignment that try to get done by the 8th. If you can't, if you have lots of things that you have to have done by the week, of course, make sure that you get it in at no later than the 12th, Sunday. So let's take a look at the journal. Before you begin writing your argument, think about what you've learned about arguments, either from me or from the textbook, and choose one or more of the following questions to start thinking about writing arguments. So you only have to answer or respond to one of these questions in this prompt. Have you written an argument before? If so, what was it about? Blah, blah, blah. What are your feelings about writing an argument? Are you worried about the process? It could be that some of you have not written an argumentative essay for a really long time, and it's okay to feel a little bit anxious or unsure how to approach argumentative writing. It takes practice, so hopefully you will be learning more about it in the coming weeks. Being proactive means causing something to happen rather than reacting to it once it has. How can you proactively address anything that might get in the way of you writing an awesome argument? Some of us struggle with procrastination. We just have a really hard time getting started. So it might be good to think ahead, maybe make a schedule for completion, say, I must get this done by this date. Hopefully it matches up with my dates, but if you struggle with other things such as grammar, punctuation, that kind of thing, maybe looking at some outside resources to brush up on those things that you struggle with. You can also go to the Learning Commons. They have tutors there who will help you at all the various stages of the writing process. So if you're having a hard time coming up with some topics, it might be good to schedule some time and maybe just try to bounce some ideas off of somebody. Or if you're struggling to get your introduction started, they can also help with tips and tricks. So Learning Commons is a great resource for you. If you are a Claremont student and you're on campus, you can actually go into the office. They have also the Academic Writing Center on the on the Clifton campus. If you're a Blue Ash student, I know that they also have writing tutors available to you. So you don't have to be completely remote. Whatever campus that you are enrolled in, you can go to their writing center and work face-to-face with a writing tutor. So the information for Learning Commons is on Canvas. It is in the student resources link that is linked at the beginning of our course. The first module has a list of student resources, and you should be able to access Learning Commons through that. What do you want to make sure you remember when completing this assignment, and what questions do you have about argument writing at this point? So that's journal number 3, due Wednesday the 8th. And then the second assignment is to have your potential paper topic and research questions. Now, I don't want you to feel like you have to be tied to this topic. If you start writing about a topic and you just can't seem to find information about that topic, it's okay to change it, but I want you to at least take a step towards this research process. So the first thing, of course, is to find a good research topic and come up with some questions that you want to answer. So a topic or a question is different from your thesis statement, right? It's more general. So once you start to research a particular topic and you start to get more information, eventually you'll be sufficiently well informed to be able to assert a position. That assertion, that stance that you take, that will ultimately grow into be your thesis statement. So choosing a topic can be really hard, right? Your topic has to be arguable. It needs to have some scholarly value. It needs to be broad enough for a balanced discussion, and it should allow you to enter and add to the scholarly conversation, right? You need to be a part of this conversation. So because it needs to be manageable, your topic also needs to be narrow enough for a detailed discussion of relevant issues on the topic. So I want you to start thinking about topics and issues that might be related to a topic that you're interested in exploring further. And answer the following questions for yourself about each issue. What do you know and believe about the issue related to your topic? And how did you develop understanding of the issue? Right? So that's getting you to think about your topic, to think about, is it something that I'll be able to argue in 8 to 10 pages? Or is it too narrow that I won't have enough information to write a full-fledged research argument paper? So for the research question part of the assignment, right? The first assignment for your research essay is to submit 2 potential research questions. So I want you to think about your following these questions as you formulate your own. What are the central questions that need to be addressed in relation to this issue? And what are, or what do you suppose would be at least 2 important objections to your stance on the issue? So for the submission of the assignment, I want you to write and submit 1 to 2 pages stating your proposed essay topic, and then 2 research questions and a paragraph for each of those questions that identifies some of the concerns, controversies, or problems that come up most frequently when people talk about your topic, right? So remember to consider your own interest. You need to have enough interest in it to sustain writing an 8 to 10 page paper. Your ability to fully research it, make sure that there is sufficient enough information out there to help support your position, and whether or not the issue actually invites opposition, right? So again, it's not solely a research paper about your topic, but you need to have something that's a little bit controversial, right? A little arguable. So you have to come out, if let's say you're a student athlete and you feel very strongly that student athletes should be paid or should be allowed to receive money if they endorse products, right? That's something that you're taking a stance on. It's a topic that would be of personal interest, and it's something that you can find lots of information about now. So that's just a an idea out there of something that would be arguable and research worthy, right? So that is the paper topic and research questions assignment, which, as I said before, is due Sunday the 12th. So if you have any questions about the research unit, especially about the various assignments that will be coming up, you can shoot me an email. Again, I will be opening up the unit. I know it's been closed while we were focusing on the first 4 weeks. I will be opening up each week of the unit in the next day or so, so be looking for that. That way you can look ahead and see what type of work needs to be done for each each step of the assignment so that you can schedule your time appropriately. Okay? So, welcome to week 5. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing what topics you all choose to go with. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.